Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Never have to cut you out like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feel strange. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man to Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the new company. My name is Michael Sean Dugar. You guys can follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My @ name has not changed. It's also right under my chin for those watching on YouTube. At Mike Dugar, MikeDugar. Speaking of YouTube, shout out to everyone who is watching or listening via our channel. Seahawks Man to Man is the name of the channel. That is Seahawks Man, the number 2 man. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, even if you are someone who mostly consumes us via audio. Doing that on the YouTube platform just means a lot to us. So please do that for us. Also, Seahawks Man to Man on Instagram and on TikTok. Seahawks Man, the number 2 man on both platforms. Like, share, follow, all those buttons. Please press them for us. We really appreciate all of the love and support. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Blue Wire and Twitter. That's CKIDD206. And again, that's CKID206.
All right. It is almost 11 o'clock on Friday night, and we are recording a podcast. That must mean something big happened, and it did. It did, Chris. The Seahawks, sources confirmed or whatever. I'm insider man now. Sources confirmed that the Seahawks have agreed to trade Geno Smith to the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for a 3rd-round pick. The Raiders have multiple 3rd-round picks. My understanding is this is the lesser of the two. There's a little discrepancy whether it's in the 70s or the 90s, but for right now, that does not matter. What the big part of this is, holy hell, Friday afternoon, the Seahawks just decided to just send their quarterback to Vegas, and he's not coming back. Chris, what the hell? That's all I got right now. What the hell?
You know, Mike, with this Seahawks team, man, they love to keep you working, man, keep us busy. You know, it don't matter. It could be a holiday where you thinking, man, I get what? It's just these dudes just always find a way to break some news on the most random times where, you know, you're thinking you're good, you know?
Would you like to say where you were when the news broke or no?
Sure, man. I got
go
married.
ahead. You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, it's already mentioned. I got married. So I got married today. Okay. And it's crazy.
Make sure you get like a little round of applause, little machine in there or something in post-production. There you go.
So I got married today. I got wind of, a possibility of something going down. I was like, why is this happening on my day? And I went back and forth. It was Mike that was like, it could happen. We're going to see, Chris. And I'm like, great. This is not going to be good because when your boy hits you up and says, hey, man, what you got going today? Probably means we should pod today. And I'm like, man, could this not happen on any other day? Me and my fiance planned this in December, thinking who's going to get traded on this specific day? And here I am, March 7, 2025. Geno gets traded. That's why we're coming to you a little later, because we would have loved to have this done the day of. But Mike was like, it's all good, man. Handle that. We'll get it done. So that's one reason why I know a couple of you guys hit me on Twitter and on Instagram like, yo, y'all doing a live pod? I'm like, I just didn't respond because I didn't want to make it like, yo, I'm getting married, so pause. But now I am. So here I am letting you guys know that's why we didn't drop anything the day of. We are sorry. I am sorry. I just didn't think these stars would align for Geno to be like, you know what? I'm out of here, guys. And it happened to be this day. So, and it's not the first time. Mike has been doing stuff, and then he's like, oh, all right, well, I guess I got to stop everything I'm doing now because this story just happened, which is why Mike had a computer when he was traveling sometimes because stories just seemed to break. And we'd have to record. Hell, I was in D.C. when the Seahawks said, we'll trade for Jadeveon Clowney. At this time, I didn't have no equipment, so Mike was going to have to write a story, and that was that. And when I got back, we recorded. But always something. Always something. I'm fearful if I try to have a kid, it's just going to be hell. Oh, Chris, they just did this.
We don't have to pod if you have a kid, man. We don't have to. We can wait. We can wait a few days, few weeks even. We can wait. It's okay. It's all right.
nonetheless, I know where I was when Geno got traded. I got married. I'll never forget that day.
It's your anniversary now.
As my wife was like, "Oh yeah, I won't forget this day." I'm like, "Nah, F all that. I'm forgetting this day. But I'm remembering the married part. I'm just forgetting everything around it. Geno getting traded. It's just like, wow. They love picking days when I think I'm good. When you think you're good. So here we are,
And
Mike. Here we are.
And so the part of where you were was it was like part of it speaks to the timeline a little bit because I know a lot of people were surprised by Geno getting traded today. When I woke up this morning, I was not surprised. I kind of got the sense in the morning. I was like, oh, okay, this could happen, which is why I hit you and was like, yo, we should pod when you get off work. And you was like, yo, I'm getting married. I was like, oh, damn. So maybe we're not going to do this. But just to let you know, this is probably going to happen. So this is not just like a spur of the moment thing. A lot of talk about this over the last like 48 hours or whatever. There's a lot that I can say and a lot that I cannot. So I'm going to try to dance around some things, be direct where I can, try to inform the listeners, yada, yada, yada. You know, one of the benefits of the podcast is that I know people and talk to people and have all this inside information on top of watching football. So I'll try to get that across to you guys. All right. First thing, like I just said, not a total surprise. I remember even at the Geno part of this, we'll get to DK in a little bit, but the Geno part of this, not totally a surprise. And here's why. Part one. Chris and I have been trying to tell you guys for a little bit now. John does not think as highly of Geno as Geno thinks of himself and as the coaching staff has thought and the team, but forget the players for a second, but just the coaching staff and Geno. It has been apparent for years now that gap is wide. Like, you guys even remember when they traded away Russell Wilson and got Drew Lock, they didn't sign Geno for like a month. Like, I was at the owners' meetings. Pete Carroll was looking at us, it's saying like, yo, I really want Geno Smith. Like, that would really be nice. Like, Drew Lock's cool, but like, I really want Geno. And even when Geno signed, he signed like right before the draft or something like that, the 2022 draft. Even then, Pete was like, yeah, it's a competition, but like, it's Geno's job to lose. He said that off rip. Like, it was always very clear that Pete was a Geno guy. And it makes sense. He had coached Geno, didn't really know Drew Lock. But John always kind of gave off like, yo, I like them both for real, but I really want to kind of see what Drew's about, you know? We joked about this, Chris. I feel like every time for like a year, every time John got asked about Geno, he would always just with unprompted bring up the time Drew got COVID right before the second preseason game when they were in that battle. He's like, yeah, man, yeah, Drew didn't get sick. It's like, John, we're not talking about that. Like, Geno just made the Pro Bowl. You got to stop bringing that up. He's like, bringing it up because you can tell it meant something to him. It's not just in a mean something to him, like we got to big up Drew type of way, but you guys get what I'm saying here. And then between not signing Geno until right before the draft, kind of seemingly looping Geno and Drew together all the time in his own analysis, giving Geno what amounted to like Geno's deal, that 3-year 75 thing that could have been 3 years 105 or whatever. That was basically a big old prove it deal. That's basically what it amounted to. It basically amounted to like a 1-year prove it deal where you get a lot of money, and if you prove it, it's already built in that you're going to keep getting paid. We don't have to keep renegotiating. So you're not signing a 1-year deal per se, but you are essentially signing prove it deals. You don't sign people to prove it deals when you believe in them. It's just like, no, for real. It's like just generally how things work. You don't do that. That's not how it works. Like, we talked about this as well. Geno got basically like 1 year of his deal, like guaranteed for real, that 3-year joint. Daniel Jones, who had not as good a year, but basically was a one-hit wonder at the time, got 2 years guaranteed by the Giants and more money, $40 million, 2 years guaranteed. And you know why? The Giants, whether they should have or not, believed in in Daniel Jones at a much higher level than the Seahawks believed in Geno, which at the time, whatever, doesn't matter. They're happily married, just like Chris is now. So you move on. But then you get to last year, and even then, Geno's guys like, yo, what up? Let's get this locked in, man. We love y'all. You all love us. Let's lock this in. John like, no, no, buddy. We don't do that. You have 2 years left. We do not. We don't do that. No, we do not negotiate with terrorists. Not our thing. Line in the sand. That was John's thing. Cool. None of this is wrong per se, but this is what we call breadcrumbs, folks. It was always very clear. John didn't even have to say it. He don't, because actions speak louder than all this stuff, but the words do, I feel like, matter too. And it always stood out, Chris, in juxtaposition with what the coaching staff would say. It's not Pino. I'm confusing everybody's names. Pete would talk about Geno like he was his favorite kid. Hey, at one point, Pete was like, Geno's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. Like,
It
one
was
of my favorite
almost similar.
stories. One of my favorite favorite players I've ever coached.
Yeah. It was almost similar to how he was with Russell Wilson for his first 10 years. Like, love that guy. Russ could do no wrong. Russ could throw 4 interceptions, and Pete would be like, nah, it wasn't all on Russ. That's kind of the relationship he had. Whether that's right or wrong, he just loved his quarterback. And to your point, that's what it was with Geno. He wanted the guy. He believed in Geno. He believed that he could. Everything he did with Russell Wilson, he was like, bro, I can do that with Geno. And damn it, he almost did it. He got close. He would have loved to come back this year and try to win a Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. But Pete got his wish. He gets to try to do it with the Oakland Raiders now, or Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me.
I know we're messing everything up today. Yes, you're right. Pete literally said that in 2021 when Russ broke his finger. He was like, everything like schematically, he was like, everything we run with Russ, we can run with Geno. And I remember tweeting that out, and it was like, okay, this old man's lost it. But he hadn't lost it. He still got it. So that's what all that I feel like. And to the last part of this, at least this is all like point one of this long point that I'm trying to make. I remember when Geno, after he led the comeback against the Niners, and he did the podcast interview with Richard Sherman, and he was like, yo, I consider myself a top tier quarterback. My film says it. Basically, it was like, they need to pay me like a top tier quarterback because that's what I feel I am. Cool. In week 18, it's actually the last time I talked to Geno, at least on the record. I was like, are you confident the Seahawks see you the way you see you? And he said, yes, I am. And that was actually, I think, the last question at his press conference. And I remember walking away thinking, all right, you probably know more than me in this because you are the quarterback in question here. But I never felt confident that was the answer. I never felt it. And I looked, I remember also walking back to the elevator or whatever to get to the press box thinking, damn, I should have said, do the front office view you that way? And I specifically said Seahawks, which is too broad. I should have said the front office because I know Mike McDonald thinks that. I knew Ryan Grubb thought that. But I was not as confident that the front office would feel that way and pay him accordingly. Because if you don't pay him accordingly, you don't feel that way, basically. Because, the going rate for, a quarterback that Geno thinks he is like $45 million. They're not paying that. So that was why it wasn't a surprise for me, because I feel like the breadcrumbs were there. And then the second part was when I saw what the Rams did with Stafford. That felt very telling. They did, because I remember people were asking me at the combine last week or whatever that was. They were like, yo, Mike, what do you think is going to happen with Geno? I remember telling people I could see them doing the exact same thing, maybe not as publicly, that the Rams did with Stafford. Stafford, it sounds like, walked in there and was like, yo, I'm worth X. And you guys know that when you negotiate an extension with a guy, you're essentially negotiating against the hypothetical open market. Like, if you did hit the open market, what would you get, right? That's how they get to these numbers. And they told Stafford, if you think you're worth that on the open market, hypothetically, we don't got a hypothetical this, buddy. You can go out there and find out that you're not. And then come back to us, and we'll tell you that we're right. I was like, I could see the same thing. I could see them being so far apart, them now being Geno and the Seahawks, that essentially the same thing happens. Geno, you think you're worth 40, 45 million? We don't. But if you think that, by all means, God bless your heart. Go out there and see if that somebody will give you that. Oh, well, that didn't take long. Call Pete. Boom. Pete number ain't changed. There you go. Like, the idea of being so far apart that a divorce happens financially, and maybe there's other parts too. Maybe Geno was tired of like some O-line stuff. I don't know all that. But like the money part of it, and you can associate money with value, and how whether you believe in someone in this league, in this business. And so what you pay is how much you believe. And Chris, it does not shock me at all that Geno thought he was worth X. The Seahawks were like, hell nah.
Man.
And these two had to split.
It just reminds me of that scene in Rush Hour where the bad guy calls. It's like, yo, I want $50 million.
Oh, Juntao.
Juntao, yeah. And Chris Tucker's like, $50 million? That's exactly what the Rams did. That's what the Seahawks did. Geno walks in there, Yo, I want $50 million. $50 million? Who the hell you think you got? Patrick Mahomes? And then, they go through the list. I won 10 million in 10. I won 5 million in fives, and I won 20 and whatever. And, Seahawks like, yeah, buddy, you can test it out there. And then Pete's like, we got you, man. We'll meet you in that building over there and we'll pay you. And hopefully he doesn't blow it all up, right? But essentially, that's what it came down to, I think, is the money aspect. The Seahawks, John don't pay none of the vets. All right. Mike, you probably have a list of all the players that were good enough to probably earn, dare I say, another decent deal. And John was just like, yeah, you're not really it anymore. And then they go out and maybe they play better. Maybe they play just fine. Now, sure, maybe they didn't get it right on the dollar amount, but Bobby Wagner's still productive. Hell, he just signed another deal with the Washington Commanders, who got further than the Seahawks, right? Jordan Brooks, he's still balling out. And I don't even know. I can't confirm this, and maybe you might get more insight. I don't even know if they even talked to Jordan Brooks. And then they went out and got two dudes that are not even on the roster no more. So John just keeps finding himself in these crazy situations. But as you always allude to, Mike, John is the reason they are in these situations. And now I'm worried that they just gave away a quarterback who he might not be the best quarterback in the league. We all know that. But you know what he is? He's top 13 in the league. That means he's pretty darn good. He's above average in my eyes. Mike and I watched the tape. We agree on that. And we have hundreds of other analysts that know far more than myself and maybe even Mike that would agree to that. Now, I also know there's analysts that would disagree, and that's fine. But I say this. I watch the tape and I say, Geno is just fine. You give him a competent O-line. You don't have Mike and myself out there blocking. If you give him some actual dudes that can protect him, allow him to find reads and make plays, he will dice you up. I mean, ask the Lions. I know it didn't happen this past season, but up until this point, Geno was averaging.
He got busy on the Lions too, though.
He did,
win,
but they
points.
lost. But that's the thing, the previous season he's been winning. Jared Goff is the quote unquote better quarterback. Well, Geno just beat your better quarterback. How you like them apples? I'm just saying. So I am more curious now moving forward. What is their plan? Because I couldn't see it when they traded away Russell Wilson, and I was wrong. Geno came in. I know it hasn't been the most successful for the organization, but I don't know what else they could have done. I mean, maybe they could have traded for another player and it went better, but I thought with Geno Smith, they did fine. Did they build around him well? Not really. And the offensive line was a bigger issue. And now you're kind of in that same situation where you trade away a guy that played as best as you could probably have any quarterback play with this bad offensive line. And now you're bringing in who knows what to try to meet expectations of being a contender. Trading away Geno, I don't think puts them closer to being a contender. And I don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. I don't trust Kirk Cousins. I'm not sure if I trust Sam Darnold. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers because I think Aaron Rodgers would just drive Mike McDonald crazy. I just don't see the vision and how, yet again, this team is supposed to be a contender for the 2025 season.
So, all right, I made a note here of all the stuff I want to talk about with you guys. All right, let's get to the compensation very briefly. The compensation is bad. It is. And third round pick, whether it's their high third round pick or the back end of the third round, maybe we'll know this by the time this podcast comes out. But just like I'm just not feeling it. I think that at a time when competence is really hard to find at quarterback, like teams are scraping the barrel to try to find it. The Seahawks had that, if nothing else. Whether you want to put top 13, top 10, above average, whatever, he's competent. That's just inarguable to me. Teams are begging for that right now. I don't know if a bidding war would have helped because you need active teams to participate in that to help. I don't know how realistic that was, particularly with both New York teams likely being off the table, I would imagine, just because Geno has already played for the Giants and Jets. That eliminates damn near half of the teams because that by then you're just down to like the Saints, Steelers, and the Raiders, which I guess you could create a bidding war with three teams. Shoot, you can do it with two. But I don't like the compensation. So there's that. Could they have gotten better? I don't know. I'm just saying I don't like it. I don't necessarily feel like I got to compare that to whatever I think they couldn't get. I just don't like it. I just don't. Do not. Like maybe you got a top 100 pick for your quarterback. That's tough. That's tough for me to swallow. It is. So, second thing, I believe the Sam Darnold smoke. Colleague, I think first seeing it from my colleague at the Athletic, does great work, Diana Rossini. Immediately with her trade tweet, actually was like, in the same tweet was like, yeah, now that they traded Geno, got their round pick, boom, on to Sam Darnold.
Wow.
I believe that smoke. When it's that definitive from someone like Diana, I'm trusting her on this. So I'm going to operate under the assumption like, okay, something's up with Sam, and that's probably the likely pivot. So, and I think that makes sense. I'm not high on any of the quarterbacks on the veteran market, Sam included. However, I am higher on Sam than, like you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers. That's a terrible idea. Do not do that. Absolutely do not. He will drive Mike McDonald crazy, the fan base crazy, the PR staff crazy, the ownership crazy. Yeah, me, like, yeah, I just wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, I would do it because, check, I got kids, but I wouldn't like
clear.
it. Yeah, the check's clear. I'm here, but I wouldn't like it. But he is good. Aaron would drive everybody crazy. I don't even think Aaron's washed. He would just drive everybody crazy. That's almost exclusively a personality thing, not a fit. Russ, no, for obvious reasons. Justin Fields, no, not feeling that. Who else is out there? Mariota, Jameis, Jimmy
Hey,
G.
you know what? Mariota beat the Seahawks. Give him a shot. For some reason, John Schneider loves. John Schneider has a thing for players or coaches that beat him. They're just like, damn, something about that guy. Sam
That's
Darnold
why
is
he's
one
going
of
for
them.
Sam.
Got Sam Howell, Sam Darnold.
led a game-winning drive against the Seahawks. That's his last game when he had 5 game-winning drives last season, according to Pro Football Reference. His 5th one was the Seahawks. So Sam is the best of this, like, not very good crop of quarterbacks, right? So I'm operating under the assumption that something's going to happen there. It just seems like too much smoke. Not only did Diana have it, I think Ian Rappaport had it. I think Albert Breer might have mentioned it too. Like, when it's that many of the insidery folks mentioning it, then yeah, as to my knowledge, just like what's been told directly to me, just sounds like Sam's one of the options. But when everybody else is taking a step further, okay, I'm willing to roll with that. So let's assume they get Sam coming in.
Whew, Lord.
Chris, yeah, man. Like, that's a hard one to sell to the fan base. Not because Sam is buns or something. Sam's
No,
got
he's
a
not
lot.
buns.
Sam can do a lot
good.
of good things. This is one of those, like, how do I want to look at this? It's like, okay, do you remember when I believe Dan Quinn's last game as the Cowboys DC is when they got their back kicked in by the Packers?
They had everybody, all the DBs playing as linebackers, right?
Yeah, remember the last playoff game though? The Packers came in there and beat the snot out of them. It's like,
Absolutely.
yo, we're hiring that guy, huh? Defensive genius. Uh-oh. That was his last game. And I even think, like, the Bengals coach, I want to say, or one of them coaches from that McVay tree, I think he was the coach. And, like, yeah, I think the Bengals coach was the coach, one of the offensive coaches on the Super Bowl staff of the Rams team that scored like 3 points in the Super Bowl. It's like, damn, man, that was your last showing, huh? That's kind of what we getting. And whether that's apt or not is whatever, but the optics just kind of stink. Because, like, Sam's last 2 games that people have seen Sam, they were his worst games of the year. It was the worst 2. He was bad against the Jets, I think, too. But, like, those are the Lions Week 18 game and who they play in the wild card round. It's escaping me right now. Oh, the Rams. The Rams.
Yeah.
And the funky game in Arizona after the fires and stuff like that. That's right. So his last 2 times, he looked like Jet Sam. That's scary stuff, because the thing here, this will transition into what they do now. So say they got Sam, right? Here's why I'm scared, Chris. Sam performed like that when the stakes were the highest. There was the season was basically on the line in that Week 18 game against the Rams, or excuse me, against the Lions. I believe it was for the 1 seed, right?
Yes.
And then obviously in the playoffs, everything's on the line, right? And then he just, booties got tight, right? So it did. It wasn't just him, it was everybody, but still, he was part of that. He did not look great. So Sam had that type of ending to his season in what I would call, Chris, like, if we really went through it and we were like to to rank what were the most QB friendly situations in the NFL last year, I would probably say Jalen Hurts was one. He had the most QB friendly situation in the NFL between O-line, D-line, play caller, run game, defense. Like Jalen was in the best situation in the NFL as a quarterback last year. I would say number 2 was probably Sam. Sam had a great defense on the other side. He had an elite play caller, a good offensive line. Their tackle got hurt midway through the year, but a good offensive line, as good a skill position guys as you can ask for. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones. Like it's hard to get. The tight end came back later in the year. It's hard to ask for better than that. Cool. Get all that going for him. And then just look like the Jet Sam again. And that was in an optimal situation. Chris, I don't remember the last time the Seahawks situation was QB friendly between defense, skill players, O-line, play caller, run game. What are we looking at? 2015?
That's 10 years, Mike. 9 to 10 years, man, if that's the case. So that's a tough hill. Is he ready for that? 27 years old. That's a lot of pressure. And this is an organization that wants to do what, Mike? They want to win. This ain't some, kick it spot. Yeah, we're cool. We're going 8-9, 9-8. Yeah, that's fine. No. Expectations are way higher in Seattle. And if he did that with the team that was hot all season, got to the playoffs, and things just didn't work out, he was seeing ghosts. There were a couple of plays I'm like, yo, what is Sam? I was watching that game like, yo, this is not the same Sam Darnold that been playing all
Which
season.
one, the playoff game or the Lions
playoff game against the Rams?
Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad game.
I'm like, dude. And now the Seahawks are thinking, reports are that he could be the guy. There's got to be a fire somewhere if there's smoke, right? That's a clear sign of the fire, and maybe you don't want this guy. But this is John Schneider saying, so that concerns me too. Now I think about it, John Schneider has had his guys, and he's been, Mike McDonald's showing him up. Like, is this another situation where Mike McDonald's like, yo, what are you doing? I would love to be.
That's a good question to ask.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in that room when John Schneider says, hey, we're making this deal. We're going after this quarterback. I could only imagine how Mike is just like, well, you're like 0 for 4, John, and guys that you want. Like, Mike, let's break down the guys that John Schneider wanted versus Mike McDonald. Hypothetically, obviously, I can't confirm this, Mike. You definitely probably can give you more insight. But where do you want to start with this? You look at the linebackers, Dotson and Baker. We could all agree that was John Schneider, right?
I'll put it this way. This is a cleaner way of getting to the exercise that you're trying to get to. Let's assume that Mike McDonald kind of took a little bit more of a backseat last year in free agency because he was catching up on everything, right?
Okay.
And John's guys kind of took the wheel. Cool. Nobody they signed in free agency is back. That's it. There you go. Maybe I'm missing somebody. I can't think off the top of my head, but for like Rayshawn, Lakin, Kayvon, George Fant. Everybody gone. Tremaine Ankrum, Nick Harris, Connor Williams, Laviska Shenault. Everybody is gone. Like, that's the best way. I think a cleaner way of trying to get to. I know a point you're making is like when he had the reins, he legitimately didn't get players that were worthwhile.
And now we know it's on record that Mike McDonald is 1,000% in on Geno, unless he was up there lying. Which
no. Mike's a bad liar. He's not lying.
And that's what I don't. I don't think Mike's up there just like, yeah, we love Geno. I don't love this guy. Trade him. He's actually like, yeah, Geno, we could win it. It's very rare a coach comes out and says we could win a Super Bowl with a quarterback, and then a month later he's traded. And I can only imagine how Mike is feeling right now. Like, what? That is. John, go watch the clips, man. He is not as bad as you're making it. If we build around him, like a Pete Carroll would like to do, I think Geno could be fine. He could do what Jalen Hurts did. There's nothing that says Geno cannot do what Jalen Hurts just did. You're telling me you pull up Geno, drop him off with the Philadelphia Eagles and say, hey, bro, we just need you to throw a couple of deep balls to, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown every now and then, but hand the ball to Saquon. And he didn't even really do much. They basically... The Chiefs said, we dare you to throw the football. And Jalen was like, okay, I got really good receivers. I can throw it. It's not a problem. You're telling me Geno cannot do that? All right. If you really don't think that, then I don't know what to tell you, because I know for a fact you give Geno that offensive line, he does that. He really goes out there and just throws a couple of beautiful deep balls, and everyone's like, "Oh, what a great pass!" It's like Geno does that in practice. You go watch his clips. I'm sure Mike got multiple clips of film where he is dancing in the pocket under duress and still is able to find JSN, find Lockett, find DK, make something out of nothing. Give him a great O-line, and he's probably lighting it up. But he doesn't have that no more. Now it's the smoke is saying, "Oh, it's Sam Darnold." That has me like, "Ooh, I don't know about this one. I don't know."
Yeah, and it's the idea that you gotta when you have a quarterback that ain't like all that. Even when you do have a quarterback that ain't all that, but especially when you don't, whether you think it's Geno or if it's like Russ in his this current version of Russ or whoever it is, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, that's another one. Hell no, no, don't do that. Nah, man, no. Even Kirk at like the minimum, no. I just hard no for me. I'd rather pay Sam, to be honest. But it's that when you have a guy that ain't all that, it really stresses the importance of getting it right around the guy. And that has been the most important part for so long. And it's just not happening. It's not even just the O line all the time. That's part of it. It's play callers too. Geno's last 2 play callers got fired. Like, that's it's not good. That's
Crazy.
not good either. You know, he's had some good skill position talent around him between Noah Fant, Tyler, Jax, DK. Like his skill position stuff has been good. He's good running backs. Like that part's fine. But like when I think of like support for the quarterback, I'm looking at your defense, your play caller, and your O line. I can work around pretty much everything else. Those 3 things though. If I had to rank them in order, I would go play caller, O line, defense. Like Geno hasn't had that. Are you going to give Sam that? Let's say you give Justin Fields. You can give Justin Fields that, and I'm talking about immediately. That's what the onus has to be now. Is on John and Mike and all their guys, Clint Kubiak and his staff, John Schneider and his scouting staff. Whoever you get, if y'all don't build this around this guy immediately, like make his job as easy as possible, because that's the thing in Seattle the last few years. It's not been quarterback friendly. It's been OCs fired. It's been O-line coaches not having the O-lineman they want, or not the marriage between the players and the scheme is not there. Like it's not all lined up. And the quarterback has to go out there and take a beating because of all this. Play callers not experienced, or just whatever it is. All this stuff. Receivers running the wrong routes. Who cares? Like the bad defense, like it's been so many different things for the better part of the last decade that it hasn't been a quarterback friendly situation. And like, yes, in theory, cool. You save money with Geno. Maybe you get a cheaper quarterback. Even if Sam, you're a little cheaper, you got more money to invest in the O-line. That's a great plan. You know what? That transitions to my next thing. That probably is the plan. I know a lot of people are wondering. I don't know how we got 30 minutes in when they asked this, but I feel like the timing is still fine. Everyone wants to know, what the hell? Are we rebuilding? Guys, I'm here to tell you, no. No. It's not a rebuild. It's not going to be that. Jody Allen's not signing up for this. They're not. John Schneider's not here for them rebuild. He didn't want to rebuild after losing Marshawn. He didn't rebuild after losing the Legion of Boom. They didn't rebuild after trading Russell Wilson. Trading Geno or trading DK, who we'll get to in a sec. That's not going to spark a rebuild. The Seahawks want to win. They want to win. They want to turn Lumen Field into the joint that it was when it was CenturyLink or whatever. They want to win. Should they be rebuilding? Totally different discussion. But I'm just here to tell you right now that they are not. This is just all right, he wanted to go. We can do it without you. We've gotten rid of better players and won. That's the thought. For real. We've gotten rid of good players and done it. Do I agree with this logic? No, I'm just relaying what I believe is the sentiment. We want to win now. This is not take a step back, draft Arch Manning in 2026 or whatever. I don't even know if Arch is eligible, but Archie or whatever. It was Arch Manning. I don't even know if he's eligible, but you guys get the point. This ain't that. This is to try and win. This is, all right, cool. We got some bread now. I think they saved like $30 million getting rid of Geno. Save a little bit more if you get rid of DK too. We're going to run this pill. We're going to be aggressive in free agency. We're going to fix this offensive line. Clint Kubiak and his gang of offensive run specialists, all 17 of them, are going to get us right. Dog, Chris, they hired like 12 offensive. It's like run game specialist, run game opportunist, run game elitist, run game executioner. Like, bro, how many run game people you need? You know, the answer is all of them. Anyway, Clint and all of his gang of run game experts, they're going to get the O-line right. I'm relaying what the plan is. You're going to get the O-line right. They're going to run this pill. They're going to 12 personnel, 21 personnel. They're going to get the fullback out there. They're going to 2 wide receiver sets, and they're going to be physical. And then the defense going to kick some ass. That's the plan. That, Chris, in theory, is all doable. That don't even sound that crazy. We've seen that happen. I done watched team go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, basically doing what I just said. Running this scheme, actually. Did it in 2019. And I seen them get to a title game in 2021 running this scheme. And I seen a Jared Goff team in 2018 get there. You can do that. What I just outlined, maybe the Rams were a little bit different, but you guys get the point. The idea was the same. We're going to load up around our guy. So when our guy just play actions and hits a bunch of middle of the field routes all day, we can get to the promised land and our defense can kick ass. Chris, that's the plan. Not a rebuild. But boy, it feels like if that was the plan, it sure as hell could have been executed when Geno was here. Like Geno's presence did not negate the ability to execute that type of plan. Because that's what it should have been.
Yeah.
Should have been. It even before he wants to get a new bag like he wants now. When Geno got the first bag, that was doable. That should have been that's the executable, if that's even a word, executable plan. Let's build around him. Let's run this pill. Let's be physical. Let's get the defense right. That could have been the plan. You don't need to get rid of the quarterback to do that. Like, that's very doable. That's honestly what the Eagles just did. They're paying the quarterback $50 million something dollars, and paying receivers, and paying the running back, and paying the O-line, and paying everybody. Just did that, right? And had the rushing champ. So you didn't need to get rid of Geno to do that. It just, what they're doing now, Chris, is stressing the urgency of it. Like you said, there was already pressure beforehand, before you get rid of Geno. Now, dog, you can't really afford to miss right now. It's like being down like 8 points with 2 minutes left in basketball game. Every possession we got to score. We have to, and that's just to send it to OT. We might not even win. Just to tie the game up, we got to maximize all these possessions. That's what these guys have to do. They got to take these top 100 draft picks. Right now they have 18, 50 something, and then 2 third rounders. So you got 4 top 100 picks. You got 60 million something in cap space. You got to use. You can't miss. No Luke Jokels. No Ed Dixons. Give me some other bad ones. Who else we got? No Kerry Williams.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, none of that. I hate to like call out some of these specific guys because they didn't do nothing wrong, right? But you guys, no Eddie Lacy's, no BJ Finney's, no Brandon Shells, like none of that. You can't do that. You got to
No
get this
Connor
right.
Williams.
Yeah, no guy
recent.
who couldn't snap the ball for a month. It's weird. Yeah, none of that. Everything has to be perfect. And Chris, I can understand why the fan base would hear that and be like, Mike, why the hell would I think we're going to get it perfect now? And I don't really have an answer for it.
You know what's crazy is there are a lot of fans that think they'll get it right. They think Geno was part of the problem, and now all of a sudden it'll just be right. And I'm thinking, I don't know how it gets better unless the O-line gets better, unless they nail the O-line, unless all those guys you mentioned, the coordinators, unless they make this the damn Avengers on the offensive line. I honestly don't know that. I don't believe that it's going to take that next step. I think the purgatory comments that you hear from fans or people like me and you doing podcasts and you reporting on the team, where they're just stuck right in the middle and they just cannot get out of it. I honestly see that happening yet again. I can see them. I know it's really early. They haven't tampered. We haven't heard any rumors of free agency or who they want, but I can honestly see this team going 9-8 yet again. I don't know how they're gonna get 9 wins with, hypothetically Sam Darnold. I just don't know if he can do that. But if everything around him works out well, which is a big if, I'm talking, man, colossal.
We just saw when everything did work well, they won 14 games. So like it can, when it's all perfect, like the Vikings got everything right.
But when's the last time the Seahawks got everything right?
Around the quarterback, yeah, probably 2015, 2014.
Like that,
Yeah,
you're
it's been a little
asking
bit.
you're asking John Schneider, who Mike just broke down every player that he signed last season, to just hit on every single one this year. Draft, free agency. Chances are he's going to hit on
Mostly free agency. I think he can afford a few draft misses, but like you gotta hit free
let's
agency has
say
to be nails.
see I think that's more of a challenge than it is in the draft. You have a harder time getting free agents that are actually nails that can bring something to the team to put you on the big C, the contender level. Because with Geno, they weren't a contender. I think we can all agree to that. And that's just not because of Geno, it's just what's around him. They have some pieces. Their defense definitely took the next step, but offensively, there was just too many issues. You can't be the 31st ranked offensive line and be a playoff team. I'm sorry, that's impossible unless your defense is putting up 14 points a game by themselves. Sure, maybe your offense can muster up a touchdown or two, so that gives you an average of 21 points per game. I just don't know how this team's supposed to do it. You're asking so much of everyone else. Mind you, the defense is supposed to just stop, get off the field, make the offense punt the football. You're asking Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen to have like a touchdown randomly every game. That's a lot. And now there's no quarterback. So you just have Ken Walker. You have hopefully DK Metcalf, JSN, no more Tyler Lockett. So you actually have more holes to fill now than you had previously.
Let's get to DK. Look at DK for a sec.
Okay.
So DK has requested a trade. Sources, because none of this stuff is like official, like so.
That's
sources, yeah. So sources say, DK Metcalf has requested a trade. So to my knowledge, at least right, the DK thing is a lot more murkier than it felt like behind the scenes. And you guys can probably tell that with some of the national reporting too. It's not like very clear really what's going on. I mean, other than him just wanting out, but like even the why of that is a little funky, and like whether that's tied to the quarterback situation or like is that tied to Geno or is it tied to money? It's very funky. So anyway, I say that to say my understanding, at least at the moment, is that Geno's trade request and DK's trade request are like independent of each other. Not really sure they were connected, so to speak. I don't know whether this makes it more likely that DK will be moved. It sounds like DK wanting to be moved was like a DK thing, like like it's not you, it's me type of thing. You break up with somebody. I've never been told that or told anybody that, but I've seen enough rom-coms to kind of get a feel for when that saying should be used or when it is used. So I couldn't get. I talked to a lot of people over the last like 72 hours or whatever. I couldn't really get a strong sense of like really why DK wanted out. Like I know what Diana reported. I think it was on like a show with the Golics. Was that he wants the warm weather. He wants about $30 million a year, and he wants a more stable quarterback situation. The warm weather part, I get. That makes sense. Getting the bag, $30 million a year makes perfect sense. Last time DK got an extension, I think he was like the 6th highest paid receiver when he got it. I think $24 million a year. To make him the 6th highest paid receiver now, I think it would be $30 million a year, like on the nose. The Brandon Ayuk deal, perfect sense. Not tripping that DK wants that. But from what I know about DK, and it's not that he's told me anything, I do know that DK wants to win. Like that's always been like his thing. Like when he's like a Chris Paul of NFL players. Like, and even I think Jalen Hurts even mentioned this a little bit too. DK, I think he hates losing more than he like winning. Like he really like losing. Really, that's just not his bag. Like it just like he punched a guy, with a helmet on in Green Bay because they were losing. Like just losing does not go well for this cat. He squared up with Dre Greenlaw. They were losing. Like he's already big, buff, and angry, and then you just mix losing in there, and it's just like nah. So I'm not entirely sure. Like I can't give you a concrete like, oh, this is why DK wants out. which is why I also can't definitively say like whether he's still here. Like by the time this podcast drops, he could be out of here into New England or Vegas, or I guess New England. That's not warm weather, but you guys get my point. He could just be gone. But I do get the sense that the trade requests were independent of one another. Maybe if DK Metcalf is a Sam Howell fan, or excuse me, Sam Darnold fan, or Sam Howell, I guess, and they're like, hey man, here's $30 million. Sam's gonna get you right. Maybe DK stays. Maybe. But I'm kind of just projecting my own thoughts on DK right now, saying that if anything, my guess is that he just looked at the team and was like, yo, are we about winning or what? Like, because when I got here, we were winning. When I got here, we went to the divisional round of the playoffs. When I got here, we won a division the next year. Yes, Russ broke his finger, but then right after that, we kept doing the winning thing. So, like, what's up with the winning? This whole, like, not being in the playoff stuff, that's not my bag. And it kind of reminds me of, like, DK's request kind of, it feels more like a Myles Garrett type of request, where it's like, I want to know the plan to winning. Myles is just trying to win. They threw a bag at Myles. He's like, no, I just want to win. We suck. We won 3 games. Get me out of here. That's what Myles Garrett is on. If I were just to project on DK and just speculate, that feels more like what it is. And I do think, Chris, is why I wanted to transition to DK. I do think he still gets traded for what it's worth. I know people probably want to know that. I still do think he does. But I'm just kind of speculating there.
Would you say it's more so? Does trading Geno add fuel to that fire, or you think it don't even matter? It's just like I don't know the relationship. You know, it's not like DK is out there in the summer throwing with Geno. It's more of Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson's his guy. Like taught him how to swim. That's my bro. You know, I get it. And it's not a slight at Geno. He's just tighter with Russell. So do you think the trade of Geno is like, you know what? I'm really out of here. You're about to bring in who? Yeah, but we're not doing that. Send me wherever at this point.
That's a good question. I could see DK just wanting just to, like Diana reported, just to know more of this, just stability. Just like, oh, just send me somewhere I don't have to wonder who it is. You know, like I know who the guy is. I could see that. I don't know anything about a fractured relationship there. There could be. I just haven't like gotten that sense in the convos. At least not enough to relay it to you guys. Like I heard some things, but like nothing I'm willing to just like repeat on a microphone. That'd be irresponsible. It does seem like though that money might not even have been the root of that issue there. Like I don't know, DK wants to get paid, but it more seems like
Myles Garrett situation. He went out.
Yeah, other stuff versus like money's always gonna be part of this stuff. Like money doesn't. I think I told Puckett this on his podcast earlier this week. I was like, money can't buy happiness, but it can make you happier. Which sometimes that's really just all we need. It's like make me happier than I currently am. That'll make me feel good, especially if it's $120 million or something like that over 4 years. Make me happy as hell.
He's back in Seattle.
Yeah, you're back in Seattle. You might play in Siberia for $120 million a year. Like, you know, like that money does help a lot of things in that regard. I do still think he gets moved. But
you can't tell me they're not retooling then. Sheesh. Rebuilding, so however you want to look at it.
That's why I wanted to bring that up. So here's where I'll give John a compliment. I don't have like a full-on way of quantifying this, but if I had to pick what John's best attribute is in terms of draft, like by position group, it's probably receiver. Like that's probably the one where he can replenish. Not to say it's immediate, like, oh, John can just find us another DK. No, I'm not saying that. But if you go look at his draft history, even if you include undrafted people in that as well, that's probably his best position group. Corner has been strong too. You got Sherman there, you got Byron Maxwell, you got Jay Lane, you got Shaquille Griffin, and now you got Spoon. That's very strong as well. Receiver though, you got DK. If you include undrafted dudes, you got Doug, you got JSN, you got Tyler. Like John has acquired what 3 of the best. Let's see, Tyler, Doug, DK, 3 of the best. 5 receivers? In most talented, probably.
When did
best.
John get there?
John got here in 2010. So also picked up Golden Tate, P. Rich.
Yeah, Golden Tate, yep.
Yeah, Golden Tate, P. Rich, Ricardo Lockett. So like, if anything, like that's probably the one position group where I'm like, okay, if John has to go get that again, just whatever it is, that would be it. Obviously, there's a lot of people, Chris, who are listening right now. I'm saying like, Mike, Chris, counterpoint, D. Eskridge. I hear you. I understand. I didn't
give him
say
a
he was
pass, but that was
perfect.
COVID. That was COVID, man. That was a tough
Well,
year.
well, no one bats 1,000, right? Like,
No.
Howie Roseman is like the GM of the world right now. He took JJ Arcega-Whiteside over DK, right? Like he took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. No
It
one gets it
happens.
all. No, exactly. No one gets it all the way right. Like I understand Gary Jennings, Amara Darbo, Kenny Lawler. I get it. He doesn't get him. John doesn't get all the receivers right. I'm just saying if there is a position group where I'm like, okay, John, you're getting rid of this guy. What's your plan to get me something else? If he says receiver, I'd be like, okay, I hear you, because I think this draft does have a lot of wide receiver twos. Like I mentioned this to Puckett as well. Like if Jackson's going to be your one, which I do think he is, I think he's a one. This draft got receiver twos, and I think you can find receiver two on the street as well. It's not a great class. Honestly, you probably just bring Tyler Lockett back, low key. But if you don't want to do that, I think you got options to find a receiver two. When you're out there on the street looking for a wide receiver one, that's where I think you get in trouble. That's not a place you want to be. If you need a wide receiver two, like you already got CeeDee Lamb, you already got JSN, you already got whoever the hell like is a wide receiver one, like established guy, just name them, doesn't matter.
Nico Collins.
Exactly. Like Texans can find a guy. Terry McLaurin. Like when you got a guy, Garrett Wilson, I feel like it's a lot easier to find the number two. There's the college game produces more number twos. But yeah, I still think DK gets moved. The reasons for the movement are still a little murky to me. I've been trying to work the phones, figure that out. Because I feel like everyone's just kind of parroting some vague stuff outside of Diana with the more stable quarterback situation. But even then, that sounds like I would love to know more about that. But yeah, I still think he gets moved. But even then, Chris, I don't think they could trade DK tomorrow. I don't think John would tell us, yeah, man, we tearing this down to the studs. He'd be like, nah, I'll just go get another receiver. It may sound crazy, but I guarantee he would tell us that.
18th pick, Seahawks select a receiver. That's what I would guess at this point. I mean, they got to do something. But yeah, it's crazy. This is a crazy offseason, Mike. This is a crazy offseason. I didn't see this on a bingo card. I thought they'd be able to bring Geno back. I wasn't 100% confident on it just because we talked about it a lot about, John Schneider really ain't feeling my Geno. He's just like, it's Geno, bro. We'll see. He'll be our quarterback till he ain't. And he ain't no more.
That was a crazy line last year, but he said, yeah, Geno's our quarterback till he's not. That should have been, I forgot about that one. That's nuts. What you mean the quarterback till he not?
Yeah, that was probably like, we're trading you this bet. As soon as Pete Carroll calls, bro, I got you, man. We get you out of here, man. Because that is wild that you would say that. And everyone's just kind of like, huh, what do you mean till he's not? Like, are you indicating something's coming? So
well, I do want to bring this up that you mentioned, like you didn't see this coming. A lot of people didn't. I do feel like a lot of this stuff did come to a head recently. Because like at the combine, to my knowledge, Geno was their guy and DK wasn't going nowhere. I feel very confident saying that on both fronts. Reporting, yes, I feel very confident that both of those guys were their guys at the time. Were other teams calling about those two people? They always call. John listens. That's what he does. But there's a difference between like, oh, I'm calling and I'm like, yo, let's talk versus, oh, thanks to let me know that you're interested in this player, but we're interested in keeping this player. I think a lot more of the latter was happening at the combine. Let's put that way. I think a lot of this stuff just came to a head recently. Like there was potential for it to come to a head, but I don't think it actually did until later. Particularly DK. Like DK's always got a lot going on, but that one seems like it really came to a head later. And then Geno, I felt there was always the potential for that just because of the money part. That just felt like we talked about to open the show. And Chris, now there's another thing I want to get to real quick. I think someone asked us who won the trade.
That's an easy one.
The Raiders, guys. The Raiders won the trade. Whether they bring DK over there too or not, or just grab Tyler or something, the Raiders won. Because now the Raiders are in such a good spot. They got pick 6, I believe.
Yes.
Like number 6 in the draft. They have a second round pick, which I think is pick 37, or something in that range. And then they got their third round pick. And they already have a competent quarterback. They know if we don't got to force a Shador pick, we don't have to force a Jackson Dart pick. We don't have to force a Jalen Milroe pick. Chris, you realize they're basically in position to do what Pete did in 2012. We got our veteran guy. We got our Matt Flynn, which is Geno, who's better than Matt Flynn. But whatever, we have that guy. So we don't have to force a pick. We can wait till pick whatever and take our version of Russell Wilson. If that is Milroe, if that is Quinn Ewers, or whatever, I don't know who it'll be. But like, I think they're in a much better spot than Seattle, who, even if they were to go get Darnold or whatever, I still think they should probably take a quarterback.
Mm.
And I don't even feel that great about the guys in this class, but now I feel like
You have to.
you really got to now. Like you do, man. And I'm about to say I don't care who. I do care who, but it just feels like you have to. Whereas it feels like the Raiders can now do it because they want to. You know what I mean? It feels like they're in a better position in that regard.
Yeah, there's more pressure now. More pressure's added. The Raiders did win the trade. They got their quarterback for the next 2 years because Pete's trying to win a Super Bowl like yesterday. He's trying to get in there and get it done. This isn't a rebuild. They just paid Max Crosby the world and then some. Max is like, we got a quarterback now. They got their edge sealed up. I don't know what the linebacker room looked like, but I know they got Geno now. They got Jacoby Myers, who had a decent season last year. I'm sure they're going to add a receiver. Hell, Mike, maybe they trade and get DK as well. Hell, Tyler Lockett might pull up as well. You know, everyone just goes to the Raiders. How lovely would that be for Pete? Welcome back home, guys. Let's go out here and finish it off. So the Seahawks are in dare I say, a desperate situation right now where they have to get a quarterback for the future if it isn't Sam Darnold. But even then,
I think Sam only turns like 28 or something like that this summer. So I mean, if you think he's the guy, I just don't think he's the guy. We'll see. I have to see. I don't think he's the guy in Seattle. Like if Minnesota would have paid him, I would understand because their infrastructure is so good. But
that's
yeah,
not here.
as we've discussed, the infrastructure has not been. It's not been it. Like Geno got to do a spin move, jump over somebody just to get an 8-yard completion on 3rd and 7. Like that's not. That's not it.
I'm kind of disappointed the Seahawks don't play the Raiders this year on the schedule. I would have loved to see that. So, you know, I think next year
you're right. That would have been some good drama.
It would have been Geno playing against his former team. That would have been real cool to see.
Pete playing against the Seahawks. I would have loved that. No, yes. you're right. But yeah, the Seahawks, they got to force a pick basically. I still don't. I mean, there's some guys I like in this draft. Dude, man,
now you're trying to talk yourself into it. It's okay, Mike.
I could talk myself into. I think I've mentioned this before. I could talk myself into Jalen Milroe because of the running. I just think that's he just does. He's just elite at it. He's not just like a decent runner. Like he is like I think he could be really dynamic. And then I could talk myself into Shador. I could do that.
Oh, you can get him probably. You could probably
pick 18.
Yeah, you could probably get him at 18.
I would do that. I would do that. Because then if like let's say you get Sam, I don't think you have to play Shador. You could just let him duke it out. You know, I think you can let him duke it out. I think Sam would win, but that's fine. You just play the best.
So you would rather take a quarterback that early instead of the best interior offensive lineman then?
Yeah, probably. Because I think they should spend big on O-line too. Like I think they should follow a little bit of the plan outline.
Fine,
yeah, go get Will Fries. Like Derek Klassen was talking about with us on our last podcast. I know Derek didn't like Josh Myers or the Green Bay Packers. Go get him. I'm cool with that.
I'm so mad. I didn't like. I try to pride myself in promoting our show. I can't even lie, Mike. I couldn't even promote our podcast we did with Klassen because the news of DK wanting to trade. I said, "What? I can't even like." I put this out. I put this out. Anyone's gonna look at it and be like, "You're not talking about DK?" It's like, bro, what? I didn't. Only thing I promoted was on Instagram and Blue Sky. Best thing I could say was, if you want to escape the DK news, like, hey, here's something to look at while DK talks about he wants out. That was so crazy to me. I'm like, bro, that has never happened. I'm usually always getting my tweet out at 10 a.m. about the new show that dropped. I couldn't even do it. I said, what? It's drowned.
Yeah, he stepped on Tyler too. DK just stepped on everybody. He stepped on Tyler's announcement that he was getting cut.
John Schneider was pissed. I could just see him fuming at that. He just looked like he was very upset with that.
Well, you know what it is with John. So Tyler Lockett got released. They released the other guys first. They released
Yep.
George Fant, Rayshon Jenkins, Roy Robertson Harris, and Draymond Jones. Moves that all make sense. I would have done all those. We don't need analysis on those. But they released them first, and the next day they were like, okay, we got all this Tyler Lockett content. Let's talk about how much we love Tyler. Let's basically overcorrect to when we just didn't even tell Bobby we were cutting him. Damn, like a promo video or anything. We just didn't even tell him. And he had to find out through someone else and got pissed at us publicly. So let's overcorrect and then let's just make this Tyler Lockett day. Cool. That was their plan. I don't necessarily. I'm not a big fan of those when the player still wants to work here. Like it's not like Tyler quit or he retired. Tyler would still play for
Right.
you if you guys loved him that much, but you don't. Like cut him and be like, hey man, go out there and see what's out there. And if you don't like it, maybe we could talk. Like that's not love to me, especially if you think he can still play, which they do. So whatever. But yeah, DK stepped on Tyler. Shout out to Tyler. We need Tyler on the podcast. Oh, you guys tweet Tyler, tell him come on the show. He's been on before, but just let him know we need him back on. But yeah, he stepped on DK stepped on Tyler. He stepped on us. So DK owes us too.
Nah, he didn't
probably
step
not
on
getting
you,
money.
Mike. You put it out early in the morning. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna put mine out at 10 like I always do. And then I see break. I said, I was so mad. I said, damn, what if I just put it out at 9 a.m.? I wouldn't be in this situation. So maybe I'll start putting it out earlier just in case crap like this happens in the future. Cause I was really hot. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But either the
Had a
good thing
great
is,
discussion.
yeah, the discussion is still relevant. It still
It
is with all
is.
the players that we wanted to like. They still need corners. They definitely need receivers. They they still need O line. Like all the stuff we talked about them needing. Ernest Jones's contract, which is still relevant. Like all that stuff we talked about, they still need, and they
Yeah.
still have the money. They really have the money to go spend. They can go win a bidding war now. So like it's still relevant. So make sure you go check out our podcast with Derek Klassen too. Up on where you're listening to this now, watching this, like it's there too. But like, yes, so DK stole the show, and then Geno stole it from him. Geno stole it from him. They really this Chris. This feels like a really monumental offseason. And not just for John. I feel like a lot of focus is going to go to John, but I feel like Mike gets roped in this too because Mike's not just along for the ride too. Like obviously John is the GM, makes the final call and all this stuff, but Mike's here too. Mike's involved too. Mike would have probably just liked to have Geno, like you said. He said he could win a championship with him.
Yes.
Uh,
He ain't
but I
lying.
don't. I genuinely believe, and no one told me this part, but I genuinely believe John would not have done it if Mike was just 100% not on board. Like if there was just no part of Mike that was like, John, I can't function without Geno. If Mike was like that, I don't think John would have done it. He would figure out a way to make the math work. Because honestly, you can always make the math work, man. Like Geno think he worth 45, you think he worth 35. You can make that happen, man. Like there's some bonuses, a guarantee. Like you got it. Especially if your ownership has cash, which it sounds like the Allen family does. Sounds like they're hurting for cash. So if they not, you can make that happen. But I say that to say if that Mike had to some level sign off on this, maybe not Kubiak. Kubiak now he might be like, yo, didn't I just tell y'all I took the job so I could dial up these deep passes from DK and Geno? I show up, boy, we ain't even hit OTAs, and I don't got no
That's
Geno.
crazy.
Might not have no DK. Oh man. Yeah, it could get rough. It could get rough around here, Chris. Like I don't know. Not I don't know. I know what the plan is. I outlined it earlier. But it feels like the margin for error is very low. It feels like it's very low. They can't miss on the O line. Everybody got to stay healthy, and they really need. This is probably the last thing that we didn't talk about. That's really important. They need to have kick-ass coordinators. They got to. Like we're on a nice little run here in Seattle of the coordinators not getting promoted. Like like with the problems that teams like the Eagles have had and the Lions have had and the Chiefs they had with their OCs for a little bit there, but you guys get what I'm getting at. is that your coordinators were so good. You're like, damn, we got to win before we lose this guy. We haven't had that here in a little bit. Like let's let's hope for Clint to be so good that like he's interviewing for the whatever job is up next year. I don't know what it would be, but yeah, let's get that going. That's what they really need. They need everyone to be on the same page. It feels like I keep reporting on some variation of this is not aligned with this, and this philosophical differences is this. Like whatever get your meetings right. Everybody get on the same page. We're running outside zone. So we need linemen who are good at outside zone. This is our passing structure stuff that we're going to run off of those concepts. Here are the receivers who are good at that stuff. Here are the tight ends who can block that are good at that stuff. If these guys is not, get them out of here. Like really, you got to get that right. It feels like the marriage between personnel, scheme, and philosophy has been like totally dysfunctional. Tyler Perry movie marriage dysfunctional. It needs to be more holy matrimony up in this joint at the installation, identity, and philosophy level. That's really been missing too. That can be done no matter who the quarterback is, or whether they have DK or not. Like I said, I'm anticipating them not having DK, but even if they do, you still got to get that stuff right. Like I can't think of anything more damning than if this happened, which I believe it did, Ryan Grubb in literally the first offensive meeting being like, yeah, guys, our identity is going to be the run game. And then running the ball poorly and very rarely. That's insane. What do you mean? How do you do that in the first meeting and lie? You lied up front? Come on, man. How you lie in the first meeting? At least lie in the second meeting. How you lie to us in the first meeting? You can't even keep that together. That's what they can't have. So from Mike McDonald to Clint to even the special teams, everything has to be in unison. I feel like that's probably, if I had to sell some optimism right now, Chris, that's how I would do it. Because if I think they hit on those things, that solves maybe like 20% of the problems they've had. It ain't just like, oh, our O-line guys can't block. That is a problem, but like they've had a lot of philosophical identity, vision, cohesion stuff, chemistry. All that's been off for some time now. If you fix that, then maybe, just maybe, everyone has jobs this time next year. Next, when you have your first anniversary, maybe everyone still has a job if they can get those things right. If not, March 7th of 2026 might be another day where you get stepped on.
I'm not doing nothing in March at this point.
It's your anniversary now. Now you have to.
Shh, don't say that, man. We can. Hey, babe, can we push it?
Your anniversary now.
Screw you, Seahawks. I don't know why y'all like doing this, but Mike, we do have a couple of Twitter questions. I know we answered a bunch of them within the first hour of us just talking about everything that went down the timeline, who won the trade, etc. So let's answer a few questions that we just didn't get to within what we just talked about. And the first one's from your cousin, Demetrius Dugar. Who else do you think will want out of Seattle? Is anyone else getting cut? I've never been this blindsided.
What up, cuz? Yeah, I don't think I have to talk to some more players. I haven't talked to any that I've just been too busy today. I'll get to that this weekend. And maybe next week in free agency too. I don't imagine like this gets a lot of people to like, oh, I'm out. That actually matter. I think the only one that's of significance is Ernest Jones. Like if Ernest sees this and says, I'm gone. I don't know enough about Ernest as a person to know whether he would do that. I only got to be around Ernest for a little bit. He's the only one I'd be worried about in terms of like, oh, if he's not on board, we're kind of in a bad place. And I would agree with that. But as long as he's in, as long as Jaron Reed's in, which I would imagine he would be, I think he's just a Seattle guy at this point. As long as those two are in, I don't think it matters. Guys are going to be shocked. Guys are going to be upset for sure. Guys were upset when Russ got traded. You know, guys were upset when Pete got fired. You know, that's just kind of the nature of the business. You're upset when your position coach leaves or whatever, or he gets fired. You know, Bobby was upset when Ken Norton got fired, right? You know, it's like that stuff happens. I'd say it doesn't matter, but it's not the end all be all in my experience. I'm just speaking generally there. So I don't see anybody getting cut either. I think they did all the cuts they need to do. The last one that would save a little bit of money, that's a cut and not a trade, is cutting Noah Fant. But I don't think they need to do that. I like Noah. Keep Noah. Good tight end. Good tight end for the scheme, too.
This next one is from Ross Fraser. With Geno gone, DK having made a trade request, is there anyone left on the roster who could be considered untouchable?
Yeah, I don't think. And credit to John Schneider and Pete Carroll, but mostly John on this one. Uh, they always kind of made that clear that no one is untouchable. They was like, we'll listen to some offers on all you guys. I don't know if they were doing to just boost the egos or like make sure they just kept order in the in the locker room. Just let y'all know, all y'all can go for the right price. Now, or if the price you want is too expensive, like anybody can go. And I think that's always been the case, barring like maybe an exception here or there. Um, but for the most part, everybody's been expendable. And maybe guys who are like making all pro teams and stuff, they're like, why would we even entertain getting rid of Earl Thomas, Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman, Marshawn in his prime, stuff like that. But I think generally they've kind of operated. It's like, yeah, everybody, you talk about anybody, you throw me some, they'll probably trade Spoon for 2 1s right now. Like they love Spoon. Let's say the Raiders called and said, all right, we want Spoon too. We'll give you pick 6 and our next year's first too. We'll probably get Spoon up out of here. I'm just using that as an example. No one's told me that. Yeah, I think that's always been the case. And it probably always should be the case because you just never know what you're going to get offered. You never know. You never know. Somebody just come in here and you be like, damn, you offered me that? Like when the Lakers got the call and was like, you want to give us Luka for AD? Sure. It's like, but you got to make sure that they know that AD is available, So it's like, all right, man, cool. Oh, don't tell nobody? Sure. It won't tell a soul that you want to trade me Luka, So I think that's how John operates too. And I think that's the way to go.
This is from Phil Birnbaum. Will you ever trust a word that comes out of John Snyder's mouth again?
Yeah. Well, John's a bad liar, so yes. I honestly don't think that John was lying. I saw people like retweet the Pro Football Talk clip that I tweeted from the combine where he gets asked by, I believe it's Chris Sims, if there's any doubt that Geno is the guy for 2025, and John says no. I believe in that moment. So that interview is from. Let me pull my phone out.
2 weeks ago, a week ago.
I give you the exact day. So we're recording on March 7th. That interview, I believe, was Tuesday, February 25th. To my knowledge, Geno's trade request came on Thursday, March 6th. There's a lot that can happen between then. Like I believe that in John's mind at that time, he believed that. And then things changed. Same thing with DK. I believe like if teams were calling at the combine, running into him at the bar at the combine, like, yo, what's up? We want DK. They'd be like, yeah, I appreciate that. But like, we want to talk to his people, maybe get extension. Maybe if that falls apart or something, we could talk about a trade. But it wasn't just like, oh, yeah, give me your first round pick. Yeah, you can have him. No, I don't think that happened. And then later, things change. This is a very fluid time in the offseason. So yes, I will believe John because you can tell when John's lying. So I don't think I have video of it. I have audio. For instance, I asked John at the combine. This was off the podium, so you guys probably didn't see it or hear it. But I asked John, it was on the record. I said, do you anticipate having Tyler Lockett on the team? And I wish you guys could see his face. He looked like I asked him, had he been drinking while he's holding a beer? Like he just was he was stunned. He didn't know what to say. And he was like, I'm not sure. At that moment, I knew, okay, Tyler's out of here. Like, because he didn't know how to lie to me in that moment. Actually, on the radio, he referenced getting that question and admitted that he panicked because he did not know how to answer that. So I know when John's lying. And I can kind of tell when, like, John believes what he's saying in the moment. I think there's a little bit of a difference. So I understand everyone's like, oh, man, like, John's a liar. No, I actually think in that moment, he believed that there was no doubt. And then things change. That's what happens at the combine. You meet with somebody's agent, you get a call, you get a text, meet with other teams, and you find out, oh, Geno wants how much? Like he even said that on Thursday after that interview. He said, tomorrow, Friday, this is last Friday, we're about to find out how much he wants. They found out. He's a Raider now. I don't think that's lying at all. He probably thought he could get him for something else. It was like, oh, you want what now? The Kirk Cousins deal? Oh, buddy. Yeah, no. It's been nice knowing you, buddy. I'm gonna call Pete real quick, see if he'll give you that. And he will. And he will.
This next one is from Luca Vandross. Is trading up for Jackson Dart a real possibility?
Okay, so now I'll probably study the quarterback class a little bit more than I haven't done too much research to this point because they've had Geno. Now I will dive in a little bit more. Right now, no, I'm just not on a Jackson, man. I'm kind of with Derek Klassen on this, and it's not even like you got to judge the player, not the helmet. But there are just some times where like guys who are coming from like Tennessee system right now, I feel like they're just always putting up numbers, throw great deep balls, and that's like it. Whether it's Hendon Hooker or what's the other kid? Is Joe Milton from there too? Where did he go? But I think he is. Yeah, he's from Tennessee. Like, yeah, there's just certain schemes and offenses that just like when you put up numbers in those, you just don't move me. And that's one of them. So Ole Miss, I'm talking about with Jackson Dart. So right now, no. Like if I had to really pick, my pick would be Shador. My second pick would probably be Quinn. And then my third pick would probably be Will Howard. And I can probably switch those out. This is assuming they don't get Cam Ward. Sorry. Cam would be first. Go Cougs. But after that would be those three. I think Will's probably more ready to play than people think. I was talking to some people going over some stuff with them in Indy. Like he's one I probably want to study as well. But now I'm just not on the Dart thing. Maybe that changes. Like I just mentioned how John changed things. But maybe that changes. But right now, Mike is not. On March 7th, Chris's wedding day, Mike is not in on Jackson Dart. We can write that down. Maybe that changes.
All right. This last one comes from Travis. Give us 3 reasons to be optimistic for the 2025 campaign.
All right. I'll give you 2. Chris can give you the last one.
Thank God. Hopefully you don't steal my 2.
You have 2? You go ahead. You give 2. I'll get the last one then. Go ahead.
I think the defense is going to be money. I'm confident in that. And I also believe Mike McDonald's a good coach. I think he will be fine, but I don't even remember, Mike, if we talked about this off wax or on wax. I think it was off wax because you were like, if this don't hit, everybody got to go. And I'm like, even Mike, and you're like, yes. Because some of it will be Mike's fault. And I'm like, damn. Okay.
1,000% some of it will,
but
yes.
that is the positive. So those 2 things, defense, and I think Mike McDonald, he'll do a fabulous job coaching this team. Hopefully that turns into wins. Because, I mean, damn, imagine being a really good coach with a bad team. I mean, how does that weigh out? It don't work out all the time. So
it's called being Pete Carroll.
Well.
And Bill Belichick.
I don't think Seahawks fans would love to see that again. They literally got rid of Pete Carroll to get out of this. So, God, I hope that works out for you guys because that would that put a smile on your face despite where they're at now with this roster. But Mike, can you give a last one?
All right, to bring it home, I think that another positive or another thing to be optimistic about, or whatever the question was, is that I do believe that they'll be more aggressive in free agency. I can't guarantee that they're just like, oh, they're going to get Drew Dahlman now. Can't guarantee that every team wants Drew Dahlman. Half the teams in the league are running wide zone now. So, but I think that coupled with, I joked about Clint Kubiak and like how he hired like every run game guy possible. I do think that's going to help. I do think that they're going to be more in alignment, just what they want to freaking do. They have just not been in alignment on what they want to do for years. I really don't think they've had an established identity on offense since 2018. You can go through each year. We're not going to do it now, but you could do it. In 2019, they were like testing out the let Russ cook thing. And then 2020, it was like a soft launch in 2019, then they just hard launch in 2020. And then every year after that was just kind of whatever. Like, I think they're going to have an identity. Now, you can have one and still not win the Super Bowl. But just I think having one is such a huge first step. It's like the Commanders like last year. Obviously, they had a great year, but because Dan Schneider was such a bad owner, that fan base was just in search of just not embarrassing the league. They were just like, don't embarrass us anymore with all these scandals and lawsuits. Can we just have a fun team? You ain't got to be good. Can we just be fun? And they were. And I think that's kind of where the step the Seahawks need to take. I don't think they're going to be contenders, but I think when you have an offensive identity, you can build off that a lot easier than just like trying to throw stuff out the wall and make it stick. So there you go. That's the glass half full, beer half full outlook that I can. Oh, this is even a Seahawks cup too, actually.
Look at the
Somebody
irony
gave
of
me
that.
this. For people who are listening, I'm holding up Seahawks cup someone gave me, I think for like Christmas or something like that. Anyway, that's the optimistic view that I can give you to leave you, because there is a world where this works out. We'll just have to
Wow.
see if we're actually living in that world.
What an off season this is going to be. I feel like we say that every freaking year. Sheesh. Another one. Well, we appreciate all of you for listening, watching, all the love and support. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. We really, really do. From Blue Sky to Twitter to Instagram to even on Snapchat. Y'all hating, loving, whatever it may be. We appreciate all of it. Because at the end of the day, it's content. So we enjoy doing it. And we hope you guys, we know a lot of you guys do enjoy watching it, listening to it as well. So, Mike, is there anything you want to add before we get out of here? Hopefully, no breaking news like, I don't know, this weekend.
Don't what everybody just say, don't jinx it. Don't stop right there.
I'll
Don't
just delete that out.
Don't say it. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Thank you guys so much. Love and support. Appreciate it. Make sure you like, share every platform, YouTube, Seahawks, Man to Man on Instagram, on TikTok. Follow us on Blue Wire, Blue Sky, Elon Musk's app, everything. Just follow us everywhere. Appreciate the love. We'll catch you guys. We'll do our free agency show next week at some point. We'll come back to you guys probably next Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Don't stress over the Geno trade. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.